Hey, real talk, can we just forget about Smash Bros on the Switch for a second? That wasn't the only thing announced at the last Nintendo Direct. Shocking, I know, but one of the many key announcements Nintendo made was that the 3DS is still alive. All the way to 2019, that's just wow. Anyway, sound the WarioWare alarm. Oh, it's so good. Alright, where was I? My hype for the upcoming WarioWare Gold on the 3DS is real. I mean, it's getting the Megamix treatment with the largest selection of microgames ever. And it's also the first regular WarioWare title we've seen in quite a long time. Sure, WarioWare DIY was fantastic, but in trying to incorporate an accessible microgame editor, it was kinda limited in a way and didn't really capture the essence of previous WarioWare games, taking a system's unique gimmick and milking the frunk out of it. Well, Game & Wario kinda did that, but then again, it wasn't actually a WarioWare game, so Which is why it feels so great to finally be able to anticipate a mainline WarioWare game for the first time. For me at least, the last regular WarioWare game was Smooth Moves, released for the Wii way back in 2006.
But what about WarioWare Snap?
We do not speak of that. Anyway, every time the topic of mainline WarioWare games comes up, people definitely have different opinions on which one is the best one. Now obviously all of them are pretty great, but I've noticed that plenty of people seem to consider WarioWare Twisted for the GBA the best game in the series. I don't have the original cartridge, so I can only play it on a phone emulator to retain its original motion control functions, and I personally don't see it. I mean, the motion gimmick is fun, but I often find it a bit too frantic and clumsy at times. Maybe it's because I'm not playing it in its original form or something, but when I think of a WarioWare game with motion controls that's really good, this immediately comes to mind first. Can we take a moment to appreciate how clever launching WarioWare as an early Wii title is? The Wii Remote was this new-fangled motion controller that Nintendo said can be used to simulate a lot of different movements, like playing sports, conducting music, or shooting things. And what better way to demonstrate this than a WarioWare game where you can have hundreds of microgames, each revolving around a special way to use the Wii Remote. This is basically a match made in heaven. The story of Smooth Moves goes all over the place depending on the character, but basically Wario stumbles onto the Form Baton, which is the in-game interpretation of a Wii Remote, and once again decides to make microgames using it. And boy did they use the Wii Remote. So first of all, if you're not familiar with the basic structure of a WarioWare game, in each character stage you first play with a set number of short microgames in order to reach the boss stage and clear it. Then afterwards, the microgames get harder and faster as time goes on, and now it's a matter of getting a high score. Each character's set of microgames is usually started by a unique theme or control scheme, and in Smooth Moves' case, each character introduces a number of new forms, which are basically different ways to hold the Wii Remote. You'll start with holding the Wii Remote normally with the remote control, perhaps pressing A at certain times to shoot things with a gun. And then you can hold it vertically like an umbrella to move an umbrella. And then you'll hold it like a handlebar, sheath it like a sword, put it on a table, balance it on your hand. There's a lot of forms that are gradually introduced and thrown into the mix of control methods you've learned so far. And at first it might seem very obvious and limited, like yeah, obviously the sketching pose is for me to draw on a piece of paper, but the developers actually end up designing multiple uses of the same form in different situations to shake things up. In one microgame, you might be balancing an object, next you'll have to give a Nintendo a high five, and then roll balls into holes or win a paper wrestling match. All using the same form. It just goes to show how creative you can get with some of these positions, and so they make for some pretty memorable microgames even if they only last 4 to 8 seconds. There's a lot of them I want to talk about, but to be honest, if you haven't played the game yet, you should go and discover some of these for yourself. There's even a microgame where you let go of the Wii Remote. Look Nintendo, I know you're looking out for my TV, but this isn't 2008 any longer. I'll become reckless safety notice man whenever I want to! My favorite category of games though? Still 9V Nintendo microgames. I mean, that's pretty much a standard answer for nearly every WarioWare fan, but there is a microgame where you play 3D balloon fight, fly with the Deku Leaf in Wind Waker, play Brain Age, pull out the Master Sword, literally murder Pikmin! And the boss stage is a Star Fox stage where you fight Rob. I don't know man, I don't think WarioWare Go can ever top this selection. Now you might have noticed that the presentation looks kinda wonky. Well, this is an early Wii title after all, it doesn't even have widescreen support. And the graphics are obviously not the best the Wii can offer, I mean, ugh. But if you ask me, I think that's what gives Smooth Moves its charm. WarioWare in and of itself is a series revolving around weirdness and quirkiness, and while the early games certainly reflected it a bit, with the series jump to 3D models, I think this chunky, low-poly art style with incredibly basic textures really brings home that idea. And keep in mind that these microgames are supposed to be developed by Wario and his friends, and the low-budget presentation makes a lot more sense if you think about it that way. It's no Mario Galaxy for sure, but dang is it incredibly charming and hilarious. And all of this culminates in one of the best final boss sequences to ever grace a video game in the history of video games. No, I'm not showing you any camera footage of me playing that. WarioWare Smooth Moves is that kind of game that just makes you laugh out loud or at least chuckle every now and then. And coupled with the many multiplayer modes and minigames, it absolutely has the potential to be a fantastic party game with friends, given that they know all the controls. And it's obviously not a perfect game. If you don't like the art style, the graphics can definitely put you off, and the motion detection in some minigames can and will screw you over occasionally. I still can't really grasp the timing of this Ultra Machine microgame, and don't even get me started on the conducting game. Some people also say that this is one of the easier WarioWare games, and I can see where they come from. In pretty much every WarioWare game, it's easy to breeze through all of the categories on the first go. But still, replayability is the main focus here, and I keep finding myself returning to the game's microgame shuffle modes a lot. It gets legitimately challenging the longer you survive, since this is the first shuffle mode in WarioWare where the microgames increase in difficulty as well. And motion controls might not be the most accurate control method in high speeds and might lead you to unintended mistakes, but hey, it still makes for a great challenge, and good exercise. Aside from having tons of great ways to utilize the Wii Remote, I really can't stress how much charm the game has. The earlier WarioWare games also had little moments and cutscenes to show each character's personality, but I think not being limited by sprites and compressed audio just helps liven up the world a lot more and makes it much more memorable. WarioWare is a series that is no stranger to vocal songs, and Tomorrow Hill, the song that plays during Dribble and Splits the stage, I can say with confidence that's my absolute favorite song in the whole series. It just screams happiness, please go listen to it if you haven't. Now of course, these are just my own opinions on the game. I know there are people out there who probably won't touch motion controls with a 10-foot pole, but as a title for the Wii's launch window, Smooth Moves does its job extremely well in being a tech demo to demonstrate the Wii Remote's capabilities while still being a fun game in its own right, both in single player and multiplayer. If you haven't checked this game out yet, go dig up your Wii or Wii U and try it out. It's also available digitally on the Wii U eShop for $20. I also would like to know what your personal favorite WarioWare game is, so leave a reply in the comments below. Anyway, let's all continue looking forward to WarioWare Gold's launch in August. Wow, that's actually pretty far from now. Oh hell, the 3DS!